got a video request on social adaptation and social skills and being able to adapt into different environments, different work environments, different types of people for those who aren't used to it or aren't comfortable or don't feel that they have great social skills. So I just wanted to touch on that point in this video. When it comes to integrating yourself with a wide variety of people, whether that's different races, different cultures, religions, ethnicities, genetics, politics, ways of viewing the world, a lot of it from my perspective really comes down to breaking down your birth circumstance to the core human elements, because we tend to do that a lot of times in life where we start as a baby and we're not programmed yet, we're not indoctrinated yet, and then we start to get indoctrinated into the society that we're around and the genetics we have and the family life we had at home and the school and the people we meet along the way. And so we find these divisions like race and ideology and religion and things that tend to separate us into different groups. And then, okay, now like this person's making more money than this person, but that wasn't there when you were a baby, because everyone is just a baby and you're just born and you're just close to the source and you're very connected spiritually and you haven't been indoctrinated into the physical world. But then you become an adult and now there's the concept of, oh, well, like that's my boss and he makes more and like I have to listen to him, and just all this stuff that creates those groups. So basically, the way I see it, for people that don't feel they have great social skills or don't know how to adapt well to other groups of people, it's really just breaking down the birth circumstance that you have and trying to relearn things. So not looking at yourself like all the things that you've identified as. So for me, I'm a mixed race man with green eyes. I'm 5'11", born in San Diego, California. However, that affected my way of thinking and psychology, and whether it's through people I met and then my views on like religion and politics. And it's really just breaking down all of that, like whatever that identity even is. It's like, you know, I could have just been born in a different part of the world or had different parents, and this group of people moves to a hotter climate, so their skin turns darker over the years. This group moves to a colder climate, so their skin is lighter over the years. And so instead of just seeing the division that society and the media always wants to put there for you, it's really just kind of breaking all that down to the essence that you were as a baby, that closely connected source where you're just out of the womb. You don't have any concept of whether you're naked or whether you're clothed, or right and wrong, or that person is in a different group than me, or it's very basic. It's like you're a baby that's crying because you want food or attention, or there's like a loud noise and it's like uncomfortable because there's the loud noise. So like the baby's very simple. The baby's very closely connected to that source. Food, going to the bathroom, a little bit of love, a little bit of attention, stable environment. Really just very, very basic things. Not the whole like, well, this person got a promotion at their job and now they afford a Mercedes and I'm driving a Nissan or whatever that is. Or this person now affords more clothes and they've got like a nice shirt and I've got this tank top with a stain on it. Now there's social class, and oh, that person has a 2-story house and I have an apartment. A lot of the social integration is just getting over yourself, or what you think you are, or what others think you are. And that's easier said than done, because maybe you have glasses and someone's bullying you or making fun of you when you're a kid, 4 eyes or something like that, or you're short and people make fun of your height, or you don't have the most attractive facial features, so people are making fun of your looks, or you have a stuttering problem. So I mean, it's easier said than done to just let it go and to not care about your identity. But it really is just like going through that mental work of just like realizing how much everything is just kind of meaningless for categorizing like identities and like someone's worth. It's really getting yourself to that philosophical point of really just asking the deeper questions. It's like, well, like the race thing I just mentioned. Instead of just, a person gets together, a black guy with dreadlocks from the inner city and a white guy from a rich neighborhood with a buzz cut, instead of just meeting on the street and just feeling that natural energy of like, hey, we're two different people, we were from two different walks of life, instead of just like, you can feel that, you might feel that, but instead of just being in that state of feeling that, when you've sat down, even for a day where you don't have work, just your weekend, to sit down and to just think of some philosophical questions, to think about things a little bit deeper, the scenario becomes funny because it's like that you trace back the ancestry of people, and you just start to realize like, oh yeah, like at a certain point of time, this group of people moved to this climate, so the people in Africa that are close to the equator, their skin is darker. And then these people, they're moving to Asia and Europe and Russia and colder climates, so they're away from the equator, so their skin is lighter over time. So why is there this tension in the air about coming from a different walk of life when the black guy from the inner city has the dreadlocks and the tattoos, and then the white guy's from a rich neighborhood with a buzz cut and a polo shirt? Like, what? Like, the tension for what? It's just like, when you really break down the deeper meaning of that, it's silly. It becomes comedy. It's like material you would use for a stand-up comedy show, because it's just so silly. But those feelings might be there because you're in a society where maybe people from your group have always talked a certain way about some other group, and so when you're just that kid, that's that baby that's absorbing all this, and you haven't grown up to reach those points of philosophy, you're just following the herd. So you've only ever heard of black people in this one way of talking about them. You've only ever heard of white people in this one way of talking about them. You've only ever heard of Muslims in this one way of people talking about them. But when you realize that most of what a person just is, or how you're even perceiving what they are at that time, is just their birth circumstance and certain events that happen to them every day that formed what they are at the current day, you just realize how many people, they just are what they are from like random chance. Like that's just the byproduct of years of history leading to that point for that individual. So when you start getting deeper into the philosophy of that, then you start to relax a little bit more in social situations, because you get older and you just start realizing that everyone's just kind of the same. And so then that makes things like your job interview smoother, because it's like, well, again, it's like we were all babies at one point, going to the bathroom in a diaper. So like who's your boss? Like, what, it's like, who's the authority figure? It's just like you start to get more philosophical about things, and you start to lighten up because you realize things. And so yeah, you still might have those feelings of your identity because you got that stuttering problem, and that kid from elementary school is bullying you because you're a kid that stutters. But like, outside of your feelings on that one person, which may be valid feelings for you to feel, once you get older and around enough people and interact with more people and put yourself out there into the world, you'll just realize that that's just like a here and there person that, based on what they're going through and their own projections and their own whatever that triggered in them to make fun of you for, or maybe something was going on in their life, in their home, their environment, that now they take it out on somebody else. And so you just start to remove yourself from taking things personally, and you start to understand the objective reason for like why certain things happened or why that person was that way. So really, it's just like getting yourself comfortable with those deeper philosophical questions. Another one of those questions is the ancestors paradox, where every person has two parents who have two parents, who have two parents, who have two parents, and so on, every generation back doubles the ancestors. So if you have two parents and 4 grandparents and 8 great-grandparents, if you start doing the math on that, 30 generations ago, that was over 1 billion great-grandparents. So 30 generations ago, that was over 1 billion great-grandparents. How could every person alive today have 1 billion great-grandparents 30 generations ago? Say people are having kids on average through the course of history, just say age 20 to make it easy. 30 generations ago, you're talking about 600 years. You're talking about the year 1400. Every person had 1 billion ancestors of 2 parents, 2 parents, 2 parents to have you. Well, that's not possible. In the year 1400, for every person here alive today to have 1 billion ancestors, that's just not possible. So, what's the conclusion? Well, a bunch of incest. And then it gets, oh, that's a really deep topic. Then people, that's, but once you get to a certain point in your life where you're mature and you're understanding that, it leads to the next conclusion where, hey, wait a second, this person I just ran into at the gas station just getting gas next to me, they're actually my relative. They're actually my cousin. Because when you look over the ancestors paradox, that's just the only way that it can be. Because you can't have 2 parents who have 2 parents who have 2 parents. Going back into history, there's something off about that. And the only conclusion that you can come to is that we all have similar ancestors, and there's a bunch of inbreeding and a bunch of incest, and that we're all actually one family, and we're all just kind of the same. So yeah, it gets into those deeper topics, but really it just it's getting to a place in your life where you can be a little bit more comfortable with those deeper topics, understand things objectively. So yeah, you were 5'6" and you'll never grow taller, so someone's making fun of you for being short, or they're just you're not getting girls because you're short. And as much as that may sting to you and you feel a certain way about it, if you can kind of take that step back, like I said, and understand that baby essence that everybody started from, and then you can kind of just see through the little divisions that come up over time when you become an adult. When you break it down to those deeper topics in that baby form that we start at, you just see all the indoctrination. You just see all the separation. You just see all the unnecessary conflict. Because any conflict or any hierarchy or any groups of people that are taking power over other groups or better than other groups, who wasn't a 2-month-old baby at one point, completely dependent and helpless? We're all pretty much the same. So really, that's just my advice on it, of just how to be adaptable into social situations. Get yourself to a point to really take a day when you don't have work, don't have anything to do, and just get yourself to a point of really going over some deep philosophical questions about life, and understand how everyone's really the same. And then when you start to go into those deeper topics, you understand that it's silly to think that someone's your boss, and then someone's your employee, or someone's your superior, or they have a 2-story house, so I'm a failure. Just looking at it objectively, you can kind of understand why certain things play out the way they do, and you can kind of just take your own card that you were dealt, and you can just see how much wasn't really even your fault, or wasn't really even your doing. So it's yeah, I'm not going to stress about it too much. I had no choice over that matter. I had no choice over the fact that I was 5'2". I had no choice over the fact that I was Mexican or Asian or white or black or a man or a woman or whatever. I didn't really have a choice over that. So I'm going to take the card that I was dealt in this life, in this moment, and I'm just going to own it like it was the card that I wanted to play the whole time.